Hey guys, welcome to Vital Fishing. This is Cole.
And Trevor.
And we got a special guest. Our buddy Matt is going to do a little bed fishing tips and techniques video for you.
So guys, just make sure you hit that like button down at the bottom, subscribe for some more big bass. Oh, I got it.
What's up guys, this is Matt at Vital Fishing. I'm going to give you a couple different tips on what I like to do as far as catching bedfish go here in the spring in Arizona. And ways I like to do to finesse the fish when it gets tough. As far as rod and reel, what I like, anywhere between a 7-3 to 8-to-1 gear ratio will be great for what I do. This is a 7-3 Champion Extreme Dobbins medium heavy action. That's kind of what I would like to use. I pair that up with 15-pound Tatsu. All around, that's the best fluorocarbon you can get on the market in my opinion. That's kind of what I would go from there. As far as lures go, there's really two different things I like to do if I run into a bedding fish. I'll have either a Senko or darker, more natural color first before I throw a brighter color so that I can see, because I want to see, is that fish actually locked into that bed, or is he roaming? Is it pre-spawn? Is it post-spawn? Because if it's roaming around and it's going to run around every time I throw a lure in there, I know I'm wasting my time. I'm going to go on to the next bed where I know I'll have a better chance. After I do that, say I do have a fish locked onto the bed, then I'm going to go to a different rod that has a white, chartreuse or something, and I'm going to actually start working the fish. Most of the time I'll use a 1/0, 2/0. Rarely will I use a 3/0, just EWG hook. 1/4 ounce tungsten, 3/16 would work as well. And the key is to have it pegged. When you're bed fishing, a lot of times people will throw weightless lures out there. It gives it more of a natural action in the water. But when you're trying to be as accurate as possible, getting into that sweet spot in the bed, a lot of times it'll move when it's weightless. And being pegged, it'll give you a more accurate cast. You'll get exactly where you want to be on the bed. And two of my favorite baits actually is this Swim and Elite Chunk by Bass Pro Shop. The key is, when you're trying to make the fish mad, when you're trying to get it to actually hit your lure, the kicking action on these things is what's going to aggravate them, what's going to make them mad. And these and the pocket chunks I found have the best action as far as the tails kick, and that's going to be the best thing to use. Start off with white, orange, that kind of stuff. And if they're just kind of getting at the pinchers or not eating it all the way, there's one thing I like to use, and that's JJ's Magic Chartreuse. A lot of times I'll just put them on the tail, and that makes a big difference most of the time. And another different way you can do it, if the Texas rig isn't working, you can just use a basic Ned rig mushroom head, and what it's going to do is going to have it stand straight up, and it's going to slowly start falling over. So it's going to be a little bit more natural presentation. And once your lure is actually in the water, as far as when you see a bed fish in front of you, there's a lot of times you'll encounter the issue of not getting it to commit, not getting it to taking the lure all the way, and that kind of thing. And there's a couple different ways I like to do to really get them to take in the lure. And that's just getting real subtle pops. It's not just slowly dragging them into them, because they're really not getting any action out of your lures. More quick pops as soon as he's nose down on your lure will really get them mad and really get them fired up. But the key is to pitch past the bed too. A lot of people that I know that you talk to will just pitch right to the direct spot where they think they're actually protecting, but a lot of times they want to see that go into the bed and moving past it. So that's another technique I like to do. I've caught a lot of fish doing that. And another thing is just pressure. A lot of these fish have been caught multiple times. They've seen a lot of different baits, so a lot of these individual techniques is going to be the difference maker in catching these fish and not catching these fish, especially the bigger fish. When you're going to a saguaro or a canyon, when they've seen 10 boats a day, you're going to have a different type presentation than what everybody else has. And really trying to get that fish mad is what you're trying to accomplish when you're bed fishing, because if you just keep constantly throwing in there and it's doing the same thing, it's not going to work. So another thing that I like is, a lot of times you'll see the fish run off and come straight back. So when he comes back and he noses down on there, when he starts swimming off again, what I like to do is as soon as the fish goes past the bait, you pop it next to its tail, and that wave, that water that creates movement onto this tail, he'll instantly turn around, and a lot of times he'll come back and eat it right then and there. But those are just a couple different techniques that I like to do. But the key is go out there and find that exact technique, the rhythm, the fall, go with the quarter ounce, see if that works, bump up to a heavier weight. Sometimes it's just little things like different size weights, different size hooks, different colors a lot of times works, but that's a lot of things you're going to have to, you know, switch up and find out yourself. It varies differently from lake to lake. Another thing too is, another question I get is, what is a bed, or what am I looking for when I find a bed? A lot of times people will see the fish, you know, sitting stationary on one spot, but it's a matter of where do I need to cast to really max out my chances of catching the fish. I mean, in most places you're going to see a big white circle, a big circle covering like seashells, that kind of stuff, shells in general. That's the kind of areas you're going to be looking for. And hard bottom is another major key. Most of the time they're not going to be nesting in sands, you know, muddy areas, that kind of stuff. They're looking for hard bottom to really, you know, dig and make their beds. And like I said, the key is a white ring is usually what it is. Usually you'll see the bed before you see the fish, is what I like to tell people. But usually they have a certain spot in that ring that they really don't like a lure being. A lot of times if you go to, you know, Saguaro, or you see a bed, you'll cast in there and they'll have no interest on the right side of the bed. If you go to the left side of the bed, they just are stuck on it. They won't let anything come through there. But, you know, a couple different things too, as far as what they don't like, so that you can play around with different lures, is they don't like bluegill. You'll see them chasing bluegill around all the time when it comes to bed fishing. They don't like shad. They don't like crawdad. So those are the kind of three things you're really going to be wanting to imitate out there. I mean, the female is going to be the one pretty much staying stationary while the male chases everything off. So, and a lot of times you're going to catch the male before the female. The male is going to be the one aggravated first. So if you see two of them on there, a male and a female, and you catch the male, most of the time you will be able to catch that female too. Another thing to think about is, when I go back to, are you wasting your time? You're not wasting your time. When you start seeing them flashing and actually doing their thing and rubbing on each other, a lot of times you're not going to be able to catch those fish because they're in the middle of actually spawning and laying their eggs, and it's going to be pretty much impossible to catch them. So that's another thing you're looking for, to see them flashing and turning over. If that's the case, then more than likely it's not going to be a good bed to be casting on. So those are some ideas and tips. Let us know what you think.